episode 54 of This and That and What a Fuck More. In this episode I will be talking about what I'd like to call the global revolution, and this will be a little bit about the green movements, and that's it. Global revolution and green. Lots of little things that are happening that will influence our lives and will have an effect on us, and all little building blocks in this new world that is developing right in front of our eyes. Russia is providing other nations a model to achieve similar distance from US efforts to use the dollar to enforce its foreign policy priorities. Even Europe is showing signs it wants to escape dollar hegemony. The German foreign minister has called for a new EU-based payment system independent of the US and SWIFT that would not involve dollar payments. SWIFT is the nerve center of the global financial network. All major banks transfer all major currencies using the SWIFT message system. Cutting a nation off from SWIFT is like taking away its oxygen. And that is exactly what they did to the Russians. And as far as I'm concerned, that was a really stupid move to cut Russia out of SWIFT. Because with the SWIFT system, Washington had an insight on every transaction in the world. And they knew exactly what every country was spending on what where. And they thought it was a clever plan to cut Russia out. They thought they were going to pull the Russian bank system down. But as with many of the instruments that the Americans are using, they think they are in front. They think they're in front. Take just as hypersonic missiles. Even Northern Korea has got hypersonic missiles. The Americans are still trying to get one test to work. So, and with the SWIFT system, yes, it was a global system and all the banks in the world was connected to it. But if you look into the inner workings of the SWIFT system, it's an old, dilapidated system. I wouldn't say dilapidated, but it's an old system, it's old technology. And when they pushed the Russians and the Russians into a corner, the Russians came up with their own messaging system, and they are now slowly but surely connecting countries in Africa and the BRICS countries, and every country that wants to trade with Russia is now adapting and adopting that messaging system so that they can effect payments. And most important, with this system that the Russians has put in place, transactions happens outside the dollar. And as a bonus, the Americans have no clue what's happening. So, let me say it again, the cleverness was broken. Now this one is just a joke. I put it here with a global revolution. Well done, Argentina. Los Pumas beating the All Blacks in New Zealand for the first time ever. Absolutely incredible. So even on the rugby field, the global south is moving. And then we've got this. This is an interesting thing that I picked up. Germany, Wingcopter prepares 12,000 cargo drones for the world's largest deployment. Germany's Wingcopter has signed an agreement to deploy 12,000 of its drones across Africa over the next 5 years. The Wingcopter 198 is a 198 centimeter wingspan and can carry up to 6 kilograms of cargo. It can travel at speeds of up to 144 kilometers an hour for distances up to 110 kilometers. The drone can carry up to 3 parcels in one flight. The Wingcopter is designed for fully autonomous operation, but the operator can also use station software to monitor and control up to 10 drones simultaneously. Such operations make enormous sense in Africa, where inadequate infrastructure is a barrier not only to economic development, but also to the issues such as healthcare. This fleet of drones will enable the rapid delivery of goods, medicines, laboratory samples and vaccines to remote areas. I think this is an interesting thing, and it can be good for the countries that uses them. All we must now just wake up and watch out for is that the fucking Americans don't weaponize this shit again. The global south is with Russia. BRICS is expanding and slowly weakening the US dollar. And that is very true, and that is what's happening. And that is why I have this insert on what I call the global revolution. Russia and India don't need the US dollar in trade. Having turned to national currencies to conduct mutual settlements, BRICS International Forum President Purnima Arnand told reporters on Wednesday, "We have implemented the mechanism of mutual settlements in rubles and rupees, and there is no need for our countries to use the dollar in mutual settlements. And today, a similar mechanism of mutual settlements in rubles and yuan is being developed by China." That means that the BRIC countries are opening up to Russia, offering the opportunity for the country to overcome the consequences of sanctions. That's something we must take note of and just file it. Slowly but surely. Well, actually quite a lot faster than I imagined it back in February. But the world is moving away from the dollar. Technically, the use of the MIR system in Angola is possible. I believe that Angola can join this system, but under conditions of worthwhileness. This will crucially depend on the level of our financial and economic relations, as well as on the amount of investments in the country. The Angolan government is fully open to Russian investors, and if their share is significant, then of course it will be rational and logical to join the MIR system. Now that MIR system, I am just curious. I just hope South Africa is on the ball there and is busy looking at it to implement it here, because if it's implemented here, we will draw a shitload of Russian tourists. Then this from Ibrahim Hassem. One important reason many members of the US establishment and their peers in allied countries can't accept and adapt to current global realities and the new world order that is inevitably emerging is their short memory about the past history and lack of imagination about the future. They think because the world has been this way for the last 200 years, it will remain this way for the next 200 years. Unless their memory goes beyond the last 200 to 400 years and their imagination is less rigid about the future, they'll be in for a major reckoning by the mid-21st century. And that is big words. But I am... look, the fact of the matter is, I think those newcon warmongers sitting in the shithouse cannot even begin to imagine being part of a world where they're not the global main peanut in the package and the terrorist that will get its way everywhere. India is currently in talks with Russia to resume gas supplies under the long-term import deal between Russian state energy Gazprom and India's GAIL. It was a difficult period for many of those countries until the money thing and the financial thing and the insurance on the shipments and things were sorted out. Now the oil is flowing and the gas is flowing. Russian Senator Konstantin Kosachev on Joseph Borrell's statement that Europeans must be ready to pay for freedom and security. The EU and NATO's freedom to satisfy their interests at the expense of the interest of other countries is coming to an end. And that is very true. And I think the EU is also struggling to accept the fact that their days of being a global force is over. They cannot imagine it. And if you see how that EC in Brussels is pissing out money, they haven't clicked in yet that their industries are down and out and is gone, and many of them will never come back. So where the fuck do they think the money is going to come from? And this is a little side note. The Solomon Islands have banned American military vessels from entering their ports. In the West, it is suspected that the Solomon Islands have chosen cooperation with China. Obviously, China is closer to them. And then we've got this. Part of this global revolution. Tanzania Ports Authority continued to invest improvements to the port of Dar es Salaam, including berth upgrades and modernization of the cargo handling facilities. This underscores our focus on improving transport links to the Indian Ocean. Look at that map, and you can see why it's important that that Dar es Salaam port must be potent, because it's got to service these green countries in the center there that are landlocked. But I know the Chinese is heavily involved on that railway line, and they're most probably involved in the upgrade of the harbour. And then we've got this. Iran will connect to the MIR system in the coming days. It remains only to adapt the Russian system from the point of view of software. Safari also recalled that Iran and the Russian Federation have agreed to create an analog of SWIFT for mutual settlements between themselves and several other countries. This analog will soon take effect. Earlier, it became known that the MIR system is planned to be launched in Cuba as well as in India. And there you have it. Breaking the grip that MasterCard and Visa has. The West was fucking stupid with their sanctions. All they did is they forced the world to say, whoa, we got to find an alternative. This one-man show is not good. India GDP growth rises by 13.5%. The Times of India has reported that the economy grew 13.5% year-on-year in the April-June quarter, the fastest pace in a year. Comparatively, financial data out of Europe has not been so promising, with the Eurozone inflation accelerating to 9.1. Well, that's what's happening. The rest of the world is developing and growing, and the so-called collective West is struggling. And they brought that misery to themselves. Self-inflicted. This is an interesting map to look at. It's a map from 1980, the US-China trade war. Who dominates global trade? Who is the larger trade partner? And there you can see, look at that, there's only China on its own red, and then there's a little bit of red there. Around about, it looks to me like there where Yemen is. And then there's a little bit here in Africa. But the rest of the world is blue. That was in 1980. And look at 2018. Look at the difference. The West is shrinking. Even Europe, look at Europe. How many countries are no longer blue? They're pink. So, this is just another message on Russia and Iran to integrate payment systems. The move is currently being discussed by the countries' respective central banks. And then we get to this one. This for me was quite interesting. Tech companies slowly shift production away from China. Apple and Google have started moving smartphone production from China to other countries, the New York Times report. Now, I would be curious to know which other countries. Unless they're moving them back to the US, what's the sense of moving it at all? But most probably they'll move them out of China into Korea or into Taiwan, same place. And then this is interesting. UK slips behind India to become the world's 6th biggest economy. Loss of status comes as the ruling Tory party elects a new premier. Cost of living shock batters the UK while Indian economy surges. So India has overtaken the UK. Another brick in the wall. And then this map. I've got it here under the global revolution for a simple reason. Self-explanatory. Look at this. Look at those American bases. They are all over the world. Why the fuck for? Their own country is falling apart. Their southern border is a joke. They are being invaded by thousands and thousands of migrants. Why the fuck are they here all over the world? Pack them up, take them home, and let them build their own country and save all that money and invest it in your own infrastructure. But newcons won't listen to logics. And then we've got this one from Belarus. Trying to maintain control, the United States is turning from a world policeman into a world terrorist. They destroy everything, which is a clear sign of crisis and weakness. We see this in today's tantrums, Afghan, Ukrainian, Taiwanese and others. This is not politics, this is looting, moreover, around the world. And Lukashenko said that from Belarus. And that is the truth. Now we get to the green stuff. The European fuel crisis has led to the fact that it is now inevitable for Germany to return to energy generation with the help of coal. Statement was made by Greenpeace branch in Germany. Greenpeace activists wrote in their address that they are bitter that coal-fired plants will be connected to the grid again. At the same time, they noted that the need to return to coal is associated with a reduction in dependence on Russian energy supply, and that greenies must be struggling with heartburn. At the same time, activists said that the German authorities should not give up climate protection for the sake of energy security. In the future, Germany will need to step up measures to reduce emissions due to the need to use coal-fired power plants now. And they keep on hammering that same fucking string on the guitar, which is a bullshit string. Renewables, a curious word. Nobody ever does the sums. Scotland cut down 14 million trees to make way for wind turbines. 14 fucking million. How much carbon did those trees absorb in a 24-hour period? Now they cut them down to put up those silly, fucking useless, uneconomical, shit investment fans. I've read another article in which it was made clear that these wind turbines, never in their whole life, the lifespan of that turbine, it don't generate electricity to the value of what it costs to build the thing. And then there is this sobering image to look at. Greenies are fucked in the head. Renewable energy is the ugliest shit on the planet. They really are going to turn the planet into this in the name of the environment. And look at that place where they're fucking mining the lithium. And they must understand where they take the lithium out. Those ponds are fucking poison. I spoke about it and others could. But look at that. August 24, California bans the sale of new gasoline-powered cars. August 30, California asks Californians to avoid charging electric vehicles due to electricity shortage. What the fuck is that? How stupid can you be? This is how stupid you can be. And it seems to me those greenies in California are so fucking stupid they don't even take effort to make stupid decisions. It comes naturally. So in order for California to have sufficient electricity to power 30 million electric vehicles, it will need to build 20 new full-size nuclear plants. The size of the nuclear plants the state has been shutting down, or their equivalent. Tough to do with solar since people want to recharge at night. That is a sobering thought for you. And then, to produce the same amount of electricity from solar and wind as from nuclear would require 379 times and 421 times more land, respectively. That's simply not going to happen, because the project will kill so many threatened birds and desert tortoises that they'd risk extinction. But these are the things that the greenies don't tell you. More scary is the fucking greenies don't think about this, or they're unaware of this. They only see a Donnerse fan and a solar panel sitting there on a shelf. They don't realize what it took to get that fucking solar panel there. According to the US-based National Snow and Ice Data Center, the northern sea route along Eurasia may not become ice-free this year for the first time since 2007. And how the fuck is global warming doing there? Look, you see, these realities, they will never, you won't see this in the mainstream media. Green ideology is pushing for net zero and more renewables, but the UK is in an energy meltdown. Germany and France facing staggering hikes in energy costs as a savage winter approaches. Reality is revealing the climate hoax to be a destructive force. There it is. And it's another pity. The people don't listen. The people don't listen. And then there's another joke for the greenies. This electric mini digger works for 2 hours, then requires 8 hours on a diesel generator to be fully charged. 8 hours generator, 2 hours operation. It is fucking madness. And this is just a duplication of that one about California. Currently, less than 1% of 250 million cars on American roads are EVs. And yet these owners are already being asked not to charge their electric cars during peak electric usage to not put strain on the electric grid. This is a disaster waiting to happen. Yippee! Somebody with insight. But will the authorities listen to this? No, they won't listen. And then we get to that moment, that what a fuck moment. And as we're talking about cars and electric cars, this is very appropriate. Just passed my driving test. My examiner, Paul, said the man I hit when I went through the red light should really have been more careful crossing the road. And I wonder why was Paul so impressed with this girl's driving skills. Could it be the way the seatbelt fits? Who would know? But he is Paul, and obviously not a soy boy. And on that note, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and please share the thing. Thank you for your support. Enjoy your evening.